All right, this is my Granny Greer, and she has had some sort of an experience with UFO. Okay. No, Dean and Earl?
Well, this has been several years ago here in Midland, but we'd seen things before. But here in Midland, Dean and Earl Killow was over there in their house at right over there, right behind the village car wash, and they had all of us to come over, and Earl cooked barbecued chicken out there on the back in the backyard, and we was sitting there right at about noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and was sitting there eating, and Lou looked up and said, "Look at that!" And we all looked up, and there was a definite flying saucer overhead, and we all looked up at it, and then we said, "Wonder what that is?" And then it just disappeared. And so we don't know whether it was somebody throwing a picture up there in the sky or what, but it was definitely a big round saucer-like flying object. But over in Monahan's, Lou was working for Halliburton over there, and he came in from work about midnight, and he and about 10 or 11 other men saw a whole bunch of big, humongous lights that floated around coming up from Pecos. And I was at home in Monahan's, and he was out there in at the Halliburton plant, and the men folks out there seen them, and I was cleaning house because I knew Lou would be home in about midnight. And I stepped out on the porch and shook a little rug, and I looked up, and there was huge lights floating around like big balloons or something, and they would just appear and then they would disappear.
About when was that? What year?
That was over in Monahan's. I don't remember what year it was, but anyway,
like the 40s or
they asked the 50s? They called the airport to see if there was anything, and they said these lights was seen from way back up north all the way down through to Mexico. Mm-hmm. And they had no idea what they were. They kept coming on and going off. You never heard a noise or anything. But they were humongous lights, way bigger than a car headlight, way bigger. And they were different colors. One of them would be there, and all of a sudden it would disappear, and then another one would pop up. And we've seen those. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people. A bunch of the Halliburton people men, and while where they were at, they seen them, and I've seen them up at the house. And so we don't know what they were. And one day then, after we moved here to Midland, Lou was over in Odessa, and he didn't know that was Micah that used to be our neighbor. And found out that they seen something weird that came down and landed on the fence. And it was a big vehicle of some sort. It just came down and settled down on the barbed wire fence over there between Midland and between Monahan's and Wickett. So there's been crazy things that we've seen all through years and years.
Did you say there was one time when you were driving with Papa and my dad, and you saw a light or something and pulled over on the side of the road on your way to Monahan's?
Well, we seen it was late in the night, and all of a sudden the whole sky lit up, and we didn't know what it was. And we don't know if a meteor flew over and lit up the midnight sky or what, but it turned daylight and then just went back dark again. We don't know what it was. We've had a lot of different crazy things happen. Mm-hmm. That are really unexplainable.
Right. Well, UFOs, unidentified, so there could be a number of reasons behind whatever it is showing itself. But do you think that it's possible that it's some kind of other form of life, or someone that wasn't born here on Earth?
Well, there's a lot of speculation about it. Who knows? There's been people like police officers, soldiers, generals, all kinds of high officials has spotted them, and we've read books on them, and that these people had documented their title and whoever like a police officer or whatever.
Right, or
and
judge.
It's been documented, but they try to hush it up. So I don't know. Everybody's just it's still an unexplainable thing.
They hush it up because they're too afraid of what mankind's going to think of it. We were raised on this whole thought of we're the only creatures in the galaxy. We're the only living planet. So the fact that it turns into, hey, there's other people that are beings that happen to show up here and there. It's like, if we think about it more than just
honey.
what we want to, then...
Has been a Sunday school teacher for how long?
Oh, ever since I was 18 years
All right,
old.
stop, Suki.
I've taught little children, and I've taught teenagers, and I've taught elderly ladies, and teenagers, I don't know, ever since I was 18 years old.
Okay, and the reason why I ask is because in shooting this documentary, I want a wide variety and knowledge base, people from different demographics, different walks of life, and the fact that you aren't looking for that to exist. You don't need it to exist. You have no reason to have made it up. You were very satisfied in your life or whatever, in your church and your belief, and you've still witnessed all these different occurrences throughout your life, and to the point where it's unquestionable that there is something, regardless of what that X is, and it could be different. They could all be entirely unrelated to each other, each a different.
I've even had suspicions that it might be angels on some kind of a chariot.
Yeah, well, just like it says when Jesus said he would return in a golden chariot,
I never read that, but
there's paintings of there's religious paintings from like Rome.
Well, Last Supper, and one of the arches of the windows behind them shows a little disc. There's so many with the halos, and the Nephilim means those from the heavens to the earth came. There's many references in there that, of course, you can probably, I'm trying to say placate. I don't know if that's correct yet. It's very early in the morning. But you can justify it as being, probably a few different things, but it is very interesting. And then the Merkaba is mentioned, and apparently that's like some little capsule or little something that your soul can travel in, and
your soul,
like but some of the teachings, some of the cultures say that you can, like if an angel came or whatever, that it would be in a little orb. Like a little light, a little sphere,
I think some of that is so far-fetched. Somebody's imagination has gone berserk, and they're trying to figure out God's business.
Yeah. So, but when you wonder if when you see the huge lights and whatever, and it made you wonder about angels. Why is that more plausible to you than if they came in little ones? Like what I was just saying, some say that they can travel in something called a Merkaba, which is basically just their essence or their soul or their being, their true, like when Papa was referring to the locusts and they leave the outer shell, the real part, the end part, that they do have a way to buzz in and out of existence, right? And so when you were saying you wondered sometimes if it was indeed angels that came down to visit or came here or showed themselves.
Just one of my thoughts that
right.
I guess it's possible.
Okay. All right. Well, do you give my permission to use this in my documentary?
Oh, if you want to, I don't care.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we need to clip these nails.
Well, I don't know, and the thing about it was that Lou thought about it so strongly until he couldn't think of anything else. And so I finally got him to quit thinking about it. I said, you're driving me crazy thinking about it and talking about it all the time. We bought books on it. I've got books in there on the UFOs. So it was silly to keep that only uppermost thing in your mind when you can think about other things. There are things that you need to think about. Whatever you're thinking about is the way you'll be.
And well, I know how he loved to solve problems, so because he couldn't figure out what it was.
He drove everybody crazy, and I was so angry at him talking about You know how the square root of this and that and the other, and
Yeah.
no, and I don't care.
Yeah, I would sit here with my dad and my granddaddy, or grandpa, and after we'd have family meals, and all the women, everybody else would escape from the table, and I just wanted to sit there and problem solve
Oh,
with the men. I loved it. I ate it up.
I thought it was horrible. I mean, I hated mathematics of any kind, and I resented it. I
love theory. I do not love knowing what the X and all the different codes and everything represent. I'm not disciplined enough to learn it. Anyway, so my granny has been